Thank you, Praveerji. Welcome to the Connect TV. Good to have you here with us. And
thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me to the discussion. Thanks a lot.
For the people who do not know much about this data analysis, etc., the technology complications, will you put it simply for us, for our viewers, as to what exactly the company is into?
So, see, if you look at it, most banks and financial institutions take very important key financial decisions, whether these are lending decisions in the area of business banking or even corporate banking, decisions in the world of trade finance, investments, right? So we have equity markets, commodity markets, currency markets, etc. So key decisions are being taken based on the information which is coming from very complex and very unstructured documents. These documents are like the financial results of companies, or even sometimes research reports, corporate announcements. Many times there are contractual documents, right? Like the OTC documents, there are regulatory documents. The list of documents is actually endless. There's an ocean of documents out there. You know, the current process is highly manual. So we rely on bandwidth, which is very highly skilled, very highly educated in the form of an analyst. A person is typically an MBA in finance or a chartered accountant who reads through these documents manually, who identifies what part of that document is relevant and extracts only the relevant portion and structures it. Typically, the structuring is happening in an Excel sheet. And then it is analyzed. And basis that analysis, a decision is taken. So from these dark pools of complex unstructured documents to decision making is what we do. You know, when it comes to documents, there are a variety of documents. You can have digital PDFs. You can even have scanned images, right, which are equally important. And the presence of the scanned images is perhaps the same or maybe even more than the digital PDFs,
yes.
Right? And the system is, you know, capable of extracting information from any kind of document. It may be an image, it may be a digital PDF.
If we take the example of a National Stock Exchange, NSE, quite a bit of the information could be confidential and client confidential also. So how do you maintain, because my entire information lands in your system, so where is my confidentiality?
Right. So every financial institution, actually what you've raised is a very valid question. You know, yeah. Every financial institution is dealing with documents, and you know, the concern regarding the security on documents is far more than the concern regarding the security around data. So till now, we have been hearing around data security, right? We do not, the most financial institutions are quite concerned, and rightfully so, that they do not want the data to move out of the organization.
Yes.
When it comes to the documents, it's actually much more, and for all the right reasons, because these are, you know, contracts between two counterparties, right?
It's much more critical. It's much more critical.
It is much more critical, and which is why when it comes to documents which are not in the public domain, like contractual documents, right? Most of the organizations we work with would ask us for an on-premise deployment. So we are available both on cloud as well as on-premise. So FinStinct is the flagship product, which has various modules. Each module caters to a specific document type. So we have a module for the financial statements called the Financial Statement Hub, a module for bank account statements called the Statement Hub. We also analyze news for both listed as well as unlisted companies. So the News Hub is focused on news analysis on listed companies. Unlisted News Hub focuses on news analysis on unlisted companies.
FinStinct, does it stand for financial instinct? Right?
Absolutely, that's how the name started. Instinct and Fin was merged together because there is a certain amount of instinct that yes. We are training the system with, and that was the reason for naming it as FinStinct. Absolutely.
Data security is, you know, is something which is being widely talked about. I keep getting a lot of mails and articles from data security experts. This is vital. people were ignoring this is that, this is that important, etc., etc. So does data
Right.
security worry you and your clients?
So it's, to somebody who's operating in the financial services, this question is so valid that, everything we do has to address the data security issues and concerns,
Yeah.
right? Because we are operating, like I said, we are operating with documents, and these documents can be very critical, which is why the moment it comes to documents which are not available in the public domain, like I mentioned, the rating updates from rating agencies or anything which is there in the public domain, like exchange announcements which are there on the websites of different exchanges. So these are like publicly available information. Now, processing publicly available information on the cloud, we see that people are very open to that, right? But when it comes to, the legal contracts that my organization has signed, or contracts with different counterparties, OTC agreements, now these are very sensitive documents, right? So for that, it becomes completely an on-premise deployment. In that scenario, yes, it's very important that the security issues have to be addressed there as well, because typically what happens is that our access to the environment comes in whenever there is any support requirement that is there. So we need to connect to the server, and we could be on our laptop in any part of the world these days. The pandemic has actually changed the way we work. But then, these most financial institutions monitor their environment so closely that if you fire any command on the server, right, immediately it gets tracked. So there is an equivalent of a CCTV camera, right? So like I said, that when you fire a command on the server, right, it is immediately tracked. And if it is a suspicious command, in fact, we acquired our first international customer in the form of an organization called SmartStream. They're a global organization, and they are, providing critical data to banks, hedge funds, financial institutions world over. We initially, obviously, we started the company as a bootstrap company, and then we had a few angel investors who came in. The angel investors who came in are people from the banking financial services industry, so they could relate to the problem, right? And recently, in the month of February this year, we closed our first institutional strategic funding through National Stock Exchange itself. So they are our customers. We started the journey with National Stock Exchange close to 3 years back, and it has been a very strategic relationship for us. It has grown in terms of size, in terms of the complexity, in terms of the kind of work that we are doing for them.
As a crime reporter, I've been a crime reporter for a long time. One question that hits me always, that bothers me, is that this kind of a system, technology, will it be useful for the police force also? Number one. Number two, can it be deployed for government functionaries like the Pradhan Mantri Yojana, the Insurance Yojana, Jan Dhan Yojana, because they also deal with vast data. So, are we can your technology be useful for government operations and the police?
So honestly, I may not be the right person to talk about the police, because I really do not know much about that world. But yes, when it comes to the government processes, most certainly so, because there are regulatory bodies which are governed by the government. There is Ministry of Finance, there is Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and they're all dealing with a lot of information in the form of documents, right? So for instance, you have all the companies putting their filings to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, right? You have even a lot of surveillance activity, right? So the surveillance activity becomes very important in the context of any form of a regulatory body, whether it is the IRDAI or it is RBI or it is SEBI. So I feel that this technology is extremely useful in the context of the government as well.